Alright, I'm back. Sorry for the brief delay for those of you watching the live stream. I had a little bit of a problem with the replays. They were being just a tiny bit uncooperative. I was a little worried when I was downloading them earlier. Game 2 almost didn't download. I was like, please work. Alright, this is taking... I figured it was just going to be easy because... Oh, okay, one of the casters wasn't quite connected. Darn it, Rainmaker. I don't even need you. I do my own casting. Alright, so here we are, Game 2, Dignitas taking Game 1, a mid-length game. As I mentioned, a lot of back and forth, kind of similar styles of drafts, both going for kind of some mid-game strength with the option for a late game with their carry picks. But, as was mentioned a few times during the last cast, complete lack of stun. Let that Weaver just kind of run amok and crush everybody all the time. Because if you can't lock down a Weaver, he just wins games, practically on his own. Because Shikuchi is just so incredibly powerful. 2/3 uptime, 4-second duration, 6-second cooldown. So 2/3 of the time, Weaver has a haste rune. So he basically has a haste rune for 2/3 of the game, as long as he has a mana regen to support it. And the early Orchid letting him be very, very aggressive and lock down the Queen of Pain, lock down the Lifestealer so he couldn't rage, forced the Queen of Pain to go BKB very early, which I don't think she really wanted to until she realized she was getting Orchided just all the time. I feel like she kind of wanted to get something more aggressive, because that's, first of all, Empire style, and second of all, it would have fit with their lineup very nicely. But, that was last game. This is this one. Nyx Assassin banned out by Dignitas, completely expected, because nobody likes Nyx Assassin unless they're getting him. Unless you can guarantee you're going to get him, for the love of God, get rid of him. Batrider for Empire. The other hero who fits that description like Nyx, but not quite as bad. Batrider incredibly strong, very difficult to lane against, etc., etc. Lots of things that make him a fantastic pick. Nyx just too strong right now. I have to imagine his win rate in competitive is just kind of stupid at the moment, just because he's so versatile. He's good with farm, he's good without farm, he can take pretty much any lane. All the things that make a hero just an incredibly good pick, Nyx has them right now. Now, unlike a hero like Darkseer, who has all those things as well, I think that some of Nyx's methods are going to get nerfed, and he's going to be a little less versatile. He won't be as easy to offlane. Kind of the reason Magnus stopped being a first ban was because when the skewer range got reduced. Well, you know, I questioned the first ban AA from Empire last game, and then Dignitas says, we will gladly first pick the Ancient Apparition. Empire, Darkseer Magnus. Darkseer Magnus, do it for me. You know I love those two picks, guys. I've said it before, I'll say it again, that's my favorite combo pick in the entire game if they leave it open for you, just because not only it kind of vaguely sets your lanes a little more than I usually like to in the opening draft, but they're both such incredibly strong heroes that I think it's worth giving away a little bit of, you know, a little bit of your plan for the sake of having them. And they're not, it doesn't completely give it away, because there's some odd lanes you can throw those guys in. Each of them is able to do a couple kind of wackadoodle things to just, you know, shake up the lanes at least a little bit. But generally, if you make those two picks, it's going to be Magnus Metal and Darkseer in the offlane. There's the Darkseer. There's half of it. I mean, Darkseer is amazing. There's a reason he gets... I actually just wrote there's Lifestealer. I just wrote a blog post for actually Team Dignitas' website. It should be posted within a couple days or so. It's got to go through editorial channels. About the way the metagame shifts, and part of that is dedicated to why Darkseer never seems to fall out of favor. And there's the Visage and the Clockwork picked up, so that's an aggressive tri-lane right there. Dignitas has just shown their tri-lane. I mean, we know they like the Visage and Clockwork in the aggressive tri-lane, and the AA is apparently what they want on top of it. So Dignitas is going to have to find a way to counter that. They get the Lifestealer again, who obviously is good against that sort of thing, just because the Rage will not only let him... I mean, sure, he'll still be stuck in the cogs, but as long as he's playing defensively, the Rage will let him avoid all the Chilling Touch damage, and avoid a lot of the Soul Assumption spam, avoid the Flare, avoid Battery Assault if Clock decides to level it up. So since this is pretty much a magic-based tri-lane, Lifestealer as the defensive farmer is going to be pretty effective. Empire batting out Puck. They want none of those fog shenanigans this time. Dignitas saying, well, we don't want to deal with Scandal's Nature of Profit either, because he, you know, was incredibly effective in that early game. Had some good ganks in the mid game too. Kind of really helped swing things back in Empire's favor for the period of time that it was. So far, a very, very similar draft to the first game. What was the, I'm trying to remember what they got. Oh, the Keeper of the Light, of course, was their first pick. So swap the Darkseer for the Keeper of the Light, and swap the Ancient Apparition for the Puck, and that's the exact draft that we had in Game 1 so far. Silencer being banned out again by Empire, and Shadow Demon by Dignitas. They don't want... Again, they're trying to ban out kind of these defensive tri-lane heroes to make sure that there aren't a lot of ways to stop the pressure they want to put on that lifestealer, the pressure they want to keep him down with. And yeah, that Silencer is so incredibly good against against Queen of Pain, against any sort of aggressive ganking lineup. Just, excuse me, just can really shut down a whole lot of opportunities. I don't think he sees as much play as he should, but Empire has a lot of respect for him, obviously. At Dignitas, I'm sure, would be one of the teams that would be willing to pick him up. They're perfectly happy to experiment.
Reserve time.
Dignitas really taking their time on this last ban. I mean, if they want to go with the same idea of banning out defensive tri-lane supports, they could ban out the Bane again. It still wouldn't be a bad ban, but they might want to, since they know... I mean, they're not really in an amazing position to pick a Bane. They could theoretically mid him, but against a Queen of Pain, I wouldn't... Yeah, he's just going to get banned out. They want to ban out the defensive tri-lane supports that can shut this down. Basically, the trick that they want, that they're trying to pull here, is any hero that can just take out, like, just make a hero unable to be, you know, attacked while he's in those cogs. They're trying to get rid of that. And they want to make sure that if they're in the cogs, they're completely vulnerable to being hit. And since the Shadow Demon Disruption will take the hero off the map, and the Bane Nightmare will at the very least make them disable one of their own heroes for the sake of trying to get that hero to be vulnerable again, get the Lifestealer to be vulnerable, or whatever support they choose to go on. Those heroes are incredibly good at just shutting down aggression because of how long they can keep heroes from taking damage for. And the Gyrocopter are going to be the last ban from Empire. Not surprising at all. That hero has something like a 60% win rate at all phases of the game. I mean, Rocket Barrage is amazing early game. It's pretty much the strongest skill in the game in terms of just raw damage numbers if you hit it all on the same target. Obviously, there are mitigating factors to that. I'm not just saying, oh, it's overpowered, it does way too much damage. I'm saying, if you get in the optimal situation, it does do the most damage of any level 1 skill in the game. Warlock going to be picked up by Dignitas, the Fogged Lock. I'm going to start calling it that. And that is a hero that has carried games for Dignitas. He's pretty much Rush to Ghanims, goes Midas, goes Ags, and then just drops 2 golems on your team, and the golems kill you. Because if Warlock has enough of an advantage that he has like 2 level 11 golems on top of a team that's not really getting enough XP and getting enough farm to build enough defense, heroes just die just to the Flaming Fist procs. It's like 300 damage from both of them. It's ridiculous.
Reserve time.
So what's Empire going to pick to deal with this? Back in the day, before Medusa had Stone Gaze and Mystic Snake and all this, Medusa had Purge. And that was pretty funny against Warlock. Because they picked a Warlock, you picked a Medusa, and you just played super defensively, and Warlock never wanted to ult because Medusa would just purge his ult and laugh. And you just gave Medusa 150 gold. Woohoo! Jakiro going to be picked up. Alright, strong support. Not nearly as commonly picked up as some of the other supports, and definitely not as highly valued as he was a couple versions ago, ever since his Ice Path got its damage nerfed and got a higher mana cost. But still a very powerful support. Ice Path is still an incredibly good stun. Dual Breath is a strong nuke with the added effect of shutting off salves for a little bit, and a decent slow. Liquid Fire, an excellent pushing skill, and Macropyre, an incredible teamfight damage spell, especially if you have the teamfight controllers to kind of keep them on top of it, like a Darkseer Vacuum perhaps, to just get them all in it for a sec. I mean, imagine if you macro, then drop an Ice Path and have Darkseer Vacuum like 3 heroes into it. That's a lot of frickin' damage right there. Can be absolutely ridiculous if placed properly. So that's Oh, and there goes the Spectre again. Dignitas going for that. They've done this maybe a couple times. I've only seen it done once. Basically, and the way... Merlini actually did like a whole video on Spectre because somebody asked him a question, one of his Merlini's mailbag. Undying picked up, by the way, as the last tri-laner for Empire, and that's going to be... In a try versus try situation, Undying is probably the most annoying hero ever because of decay spam. But if they have the Spectre... What I feel like that maybe the Spectre is just going to solo farm against the Darks here, but you'd think they'd want to tri-lane the Spectre to make sure she gets her farm. Because, I mean, the way Merlini described it, and I agree, is if you pick Spectre, you're basically conceding that you're going to lose the early game. Because Spectre is
better get ready.
Worthless in lane, does nothing until she's farmed, and then just takes actually a decent while to get farmed. On the other hand, once she's farmed, Spectre crushes entire teams, especially with Fatal Bonds. Fatal Bonds with Spectre on them. Basically, if you actually catch all 5 heroes with Fatal Bonds and then Spectre ults, each of the heroes is actually going to be taking double damage because of the way it splits. Because that's 20% of the damage. Basically, 20% of the damage done to each hero gets bounced to every other hero. And since that's happening 5 times 20% is 100%. So Spectre's ult is dealing double damage, which is ridiculous because Spectre's ult can already just single-handedly destroy support heroes if she's farmed enough.
30 seconds to showtime.
Alright, so really quickly, run this down. Queen of Pain, going to be Vygos once again. Lifestealer, Blow, no surprise there. SS on the Jakiro. 3-3-3, Goblak, going to be playing that Undying. Scandal on the Darks here, not surprising. And then looks like we have Owie on the Visage again. Tide's going to be on... Tide's on the... Okay. Tide's on the Spectre. And Problematic going to be on the Ancient Apparition. And then Universe going to be farming that Clockwork? Weird. Looks like SS is going to get engaged upon... Good thing he got that haste rune and not someone else. That could have been dangerous. I don't know what he's thinking of doing there. Goblak is actually going to pick off Ancient Apparition up here. Now they're going to be chasing Tides. Oh, nice Ice Path coming out. And Tides is definitely going to go down just due to the haste coming out. The decay spam is going to pick it up. 2 kills so far for Goblak playing that Undying. And now Owie's open wound slowed. 3 kills. That should pretty much decide the tri-lane right there. I mean, they have level 2. They're running aggressive tri-lane with the Lifestealer, which is funny because you have this really excellent carry, but I don't actually know where to go on this. And SS picks off Fogged early. That could actually just be 2 lanes that they just won, or at least put a whole lot of pressure on. That aggressive tri-lane has done so much work already. And now, Dignitas is really on the back foot. They're a little under-leveled. They're going to be a little under-farmed. There's going to be these just couple of extra items, like a couple extra, stat points on supports. A quicker Bass Ring in the tri-lane. A quicker whatever that Blow wants to go for is just going to pretty much end this tri-lane. And look, Tide's just doing creep pulls. Tide says, I can't farm in the lane. I'm doing creep pulls. That is a bad sign when after the first, you're not even at minute 2, and your Spectre is so afraid to go into lane that she's pulling the jungle for easy camps. Not even for mid camps, for easy camps, because it's too dangerous to go for the mid camps. Wow. So Lifestealer just going to pretty much have free farm up in the top lane. Going to have about half of Dignitas' jungle as his own as well. And with the fact that they not only have a stronger tri-lane, because they ended up playing against the Spectre, and Spectre, of course, is pretty much some friends and I refer to Spectre as lane cancer because she just she kills your lane. She's absolutely useless, and Darkseer are going to pick off Clockwork in the meantime. Darkseer versus Clockwork, not a matchup I would ever want to play as the Clockwork. That Ion Shell is ridiculously annoying as any melee hero, as anyone who has ever played Dota knows. Aw, Scandal. Be a little more careful with yourself, buddy. Gets taken off by range creep, but he should still be fine in that lane. So every lane right now is winning, and Jakiro gonna pick off Visage. Just this tri-lane, they need to find some place to get levels and farm besides just the easy camp, because especially if the supports are starting to leech off of Tides as well, there's not going to be enough farm and there's not going to be enough experience, and they're just going to lose the mid-game. I mean, this is an incredibly powerful mid-game lineup coming out from Empire. If they don't have something to try to stop it, I think what they're going to be relying on is Fogged. He needs to get big. He needs to really kind of get to the point where he can control the mid-game with that chaotic offering, with the Golem. And Clockwork also needs to be... Universe needs to get at least some semblance of levels and farm and do a lot of ganking, but it's hard for him, really hard for him to farm up against that Darkseer. Anytime he really wants to come in for last hits, Darkseer just puts on Ion Shell and he has to run away. And Blow just getting more farmed up here, 19-3 against a 6-1 Spectre. And remember, Spectre's 6 are easy creeps. They're worth maybe 20 gold each compared to the 40 from the creeps in lane. So, oh man. Dignitas, I don't think they saw this coming. And I don't think Empire was really planning on aggressive tri-laning until they saw the Spectre, and they said, well, they're going to be trying the Spectre. We have a really good possibility for an aggressive tri-lane. Let's just do it. And look how well it's paid off for them, even 4 minutes into the game. Absolutely brutal. Vigos now has a DD rune in this mid lane. Has his bottle. Looks like we might have a gank coming in from Tides. Are you playing Gank Spectre? Gonker Spectre. Number 1. Gonk Mercurial. I mean, oh god, it's so hard to find any sort of kills. Tides, I don't know what he's doing. He feels like he's wasting a lot of time, and he can't afford to be... Even if you know you're going to lose the laning phase, that doesn't mean you can get away with just not farming. They need to make some sort of change, make some sort of shift to get that Spectre or something. But I guess they're afraid that if they make the shift, Empire will just very happily shift down and join them in the bottom lane if they try to send her down there. And there's the Ice Path going to come out on the Ancient Apparition. He's just going to get melted. That poor little ice block just turning into water. And that's going to be also about a 5-minute tower coming out for Empire's tri-lane. Owie very nearly getting picked off. The Tombstone gets dropped to try and clear it out so they can see what's going on, but the Ice Path was not there. They didn't quite have enough time for that. And boom, 5-minute tower in the top lane. This is exactly what you should do to a Spectre. If you see a Spectre pick, you should say, okay, that lane is free. We win that lane automatically. Let's make sure we take advantage of that just completely. Because they can't win a lane that has a Spectre in it against any decent lane opponents. But, you know, that's got to be something that Dignitas, I mean, they're aware of that. They know that picking Spectre means they lose the lane. So they're going to trust Fogged to get what he needs to do done, be enough of a force in the mid-game, and there goes the Ice Block again. Rage comes out for Lifestealer. Ice Path going to freeze the ice in place, and he's just going to melt once again. Just destroyed. Whew. This tri-lane, man, this matchup, not only is it non-stop action, it's not completely one-sided. And damage coming out. I think he still had a bit of the Chilling Touch buff coming out on him. He had the plus 60 damage right there. But how is Fogged doing in this mid lane? Because I keep saying he needs to make something happen. He's not... He's got a wand and boots, so he's not doing terribly. But as far as... I mean, he's 14-1 on creeps as compared to the 27-6 of Vigos. He's level 6 compared to Queen of Pain level 7. So he's got the Chaotic Offering. I think he needs to try and do something in the top lane soon, before Lifestealer is just too farmed for them to actually do anything about. What's he getting right there? He's got his drum recipe, so all he needs is another 200 gold, and he has like... So he's going to have like a 7-minute drum. 7-minute drum phase boots orb, or orb of venom, and that's... I mean, we already... I mean, he got a lot of work done in the mid-game last game with this hero, and even though they ended up losing because they couldn't lock down the Weaver, at the same time, this mid-game fighting build is something Blow Your Brain is obviously very, very comfortable on, and is able to get a whole lot of work done with. And I'm afraid for Dignitas. Like I said, I love them as a team because of how much they experiment with their picks, and they're the only guys who run Spectre. Nobody touches this hero. And there's, you know, Empire's showing there might be good reason for that. But that doesn't mean that Dignitas can't come back. That doesn't mean that Warlock can't get a lot of work done. But a 9-0 disadvantage is really significant this early in the game. I mean, it's already given them a 4,000 experience advantage and almost a 7,000 gold advantage. Excuse me, more than a 7,000 gold advantage. That's huge. They're more than doubling up the gold that Dignitas has right now. Oh god, I must sound like just terrible right now, incredibly fatalistic, but this is just brutal. I don't think Dignitas saw an aggressive tri-lane coming, or they wouldn't have picked Spectre, but Empire just good reaction. Oh, that AA! The AA just doesn't have the health to stand up to a Queen of Pain. The slow is going to come out. Owie is definitely going to go down as well. Gonna die right there, and Vigos getting already more work done than he did in the last game. 3-0 at the 8-minute mark. 11-0 already. Empire versus Dignitas. Dignitas has to find a way to turtle up and find farm. I mean, basically play super ultra defensively, take this super late, and find a way to get that Spectre farmed enough that she can just win. But, I mean, at this point, that means going a defensive build on the Spectre, because you know you can't fight in the mid-game. Excuse me, you can't fight in the mid-game already. So the Spectre needs to have some way to just farm safely, but at that same time, you don't really have the traditional turtling heroes. You have the Warlock. The Chaotic Offering is very powerful in team fights, very powerful for turtling, but you don't have a Keeper of the Light. You're not the ones who have the Darkseer, who is an amazing turtling hero, but I would have been much more oh, there goes Owie again. There's no way he's going to live through this one. The Ice Path cutting off his retreat. Blow going to pick up another kill right there. And he's got his drum, he's got his phase boots, he's got over Venom, and another 1,000 gold on top of it. What is his net worth right now? That is a... wow. That's an incredibly telling story. The least farmed person on Empire is out-farming everyone on Dignitas. Wow. I'm not really sure what else I can say about that. And I'm not really... If I was in this game, I'd be writing it off. I would have said, alright, you know, screw it. I mean, we tried something fun. We tried something interesting. We know we can do this, but it just didn't pan out this time. But, I mean, this is a serious game. Dignitas wants to find a way to run this back. I think the problem is that Fog just doesn't feel comfortable fighting right now. I don't know what it is. Maybe he wants to get a... I mean, he didn't go Midas. Maybe he wants to get a drum. He's trying to get his treads. But he doesn't feel comfortable using that Chaotic Offering to try and fight people off. And there, he's getting stunned right now, just preventing him from getting in on anyone. Looks like Blow is going to maybe be engaged upon. They're going to drop the Offering. There's a nice opportunity to get a couple heroes. But no, Blow just going to go right in. Vigos going to be picking off Tides on that Spectre in the back. Hook's going to come in on Goblak. Try and catch him real quick, but he just doesn't. They don't have anyone to slow him down. And then Blow Your Brain comes out. The stun coming out on Universe from SS gets slowed by the open wounds along with the rage. There's no way he's living through that. He goes down again. The Fog just trying to heal himself up with that Shadow. Where there's the Chaotic Offering on Vigos. Looks like they might finally lose it here as Empire, but no, the mech and the Soul Rip. So much damage, so much healing coming out, and that's a 3-0 trade. And GG. 11 minutes, Dignitas saying there's no way we can turtle this long enough for Spectre to be viable.
Looks like we lost one.
18-0 in 11 minutes. That was brutal. That was... wow. I don't really know much more to say about that except that, you know, you picked Spectre, you knew you were going to lose the lanes, and you didn't get the Warlock active enough to do something about it. I think that was what they needed, was to get the Warlock more active. Well, that's that for Game 2, and now 1-1. Empire running it back in a convincing fashion. So, we'll see, you know, we'll see what comes of Game 3. Hopefully Dignitas... I would like to see them do another crazy pick. I would also like to see them execute it a little better, because they just got... they got crushed. And I think they just got outpicked and outlaned. Well, good game. Killing the stream. Back up in just a second with Game 3.